Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of your favorite YouTube podcast, Garbage Time Takes. We've got the whole squad this week, at least momentarily. Dennis is likely to be leaving us somewhat shortly, but we wanted to make sure we at least had the Three Musketeers here for a little bit. Dennis, how are you doing after your trip out at the Napa Valley?
Yeah, it was eventful to say the least. Had a lot of fun though, and tasted some wine up in the valley. It was rather good. But no, got a lot of work done, and it's good to be back. Um, it was pretty busy. Not a lot of downtime.
Glad to have you back, Dennis, as always. Bob, Mr. Consistency, never miss a day except when he gets Morgan Wallen concert tickets for free. How are you doing this fine evening, Bob?
Glad to be back. Glad to have the whole crew back. First time in a while. Doing good. Ready to talk some sports.
Ready to talk some sports? Might as well get right into it. We'll start with the World Series. I think that's the most, prevalent place to start. Unfortunately, the Snakes fell short in 5 games. Really felt the series turn on the Paul Sewald blown save. Sort of felt like, even though the D-backs did come back in Game 2, really felt like a missed opportunity there in the beginning. And if they hadn't lost that one, they'd still be alive and kicking with the series headed back to Texas at the very least. Dennis, why do you take joy in my sadness?
Because it can't be true sadness. I mean, the Arizona Diamondbacks went on what I don't think is an over exaggeration to call a miracle run through the MLB postseason. Um, and it, they ran into a very, very good baseball team. I mean, and they were able to defeat those teams along the way. But the Texas Rangers played really, really sound baseball. I heard 11-0 on the road this postseason, and quite frankly, like it's if you're that consistently beating teams away from home, you're going to win a World Series. That encapsulates the whole thing right there. And hats off to the Arizona Diamondbacks. I don't truly find joy in seeing them lose. It was just the disappointment of the Philadelphia Phillies being knocked out at the hands of the Snakes. So, uh, you know, hats off to them for making it there. They have a very dangerous roster. Next year should be just as dangerous. And but also big congrats to the Texas Rangers.
Bob, we'll come to you. I was robbed of a World Series parade in Phoenix to go to. Do you have any sympathy for me, Bob?
I do. I do have some sympathy for you, Derek, and I think that while it was tough to even decide who I wanted to pull for in the series, just because I was pulling for this both teams throughout the whole way. Um, the Snakes did kind of capture my heart a little bit, and I have to say, I'm not sure if you're. I'm quite going to go there, but you're on fragile at fan watch for not buying tickets. Um,
I was waiting for the
and
wire from Dennis via the Holling scholarship. I was waiting for the
well,
wire.
that's I'll
Uh,
give you that. I'll give you
yeah,
that.
you're gonna give them that. You're gonna give them that.
I'm gonna give him that.
When did the responsibility for buying Derek World Series tickets fall onto me? I mean, I didn't see Derek footing the bill for my
When you started
NLCS
working a
tickets last year.
multimillionaire when you started working a multimillionaire job, Dennis, that's when it fell on you.
I
Correct.
mean, Napa
And
Valley. What can I say?
and Derek, I will say a World Series parade would have been, I'm sure, very
Electric.
very fun to attend.
Electric. Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I'll be honest with the viewers here. I can't remember if I talked about it in a few episodes ago or not. I win either way, to be completely honest. I was pulling for the Snakes primarily because I wanted to see the World Series parade, and I've been a fan of them longer. Current Arizona resident. I've liked the D-backs for pretty much as long as I've liked the Cubs, but I've always liked the Cubs more obviously because I have family ties there. But I've also liked the Rangers because I have family ties to Fort Worth, Texas, which is not too far off the way from where the Texas Rangers play their home games. So really, for me, there's no losing. The Phillies lost, which was a plus. The Brewers lost, which was a plus. The Dodgers lost, which was a plus. The Astros lost, which was a plus. So really, I was sort of in a win-win situation either way. And as cool as the World Series parade would have been, the Texas Rangers winning their first ever World Series title after coming up short just a little over a decade ago against the St. Louis Cardinals. Dennis, you would remember it as Joe Buck's famous call, and we will see you tomorrow night.
Correct. We will see you tomorrow night.
It was
Game 6.
correct. It was that series the last time the Rangers, literally a strike away, Dennis, a strike away from the World Series. And David Freese, DUIs and
David
all,
Freese.
ended up coming through for him. But finally, glory for the Texas Rangers. Happy for Adrian Beltre. Saw him with the picture holding the trophy. All around, really America won. Even though the ratings were trash, America won with the winner of this year's World Series.
How many is that for Bochy?
That is
4, 5?
four. That is
4?
four
Yeah,
for
that's what I thought.
Bochy. He has won, I believe, 14 of 15 postseason series.
Wow.
You know who that one loss was? You know who that 15th team was? The 2016 Chicago Cubs, baby.
That's
The
what I figured it was
2016
going for.
Chicago
That's what I
Cubs
figured it was going.
went to San Francisco and put a dagger in the even year San Francisco Giants. Because you'll remember, that was during the time frame 2010, 2012, 2014, when the Giants just kept alternating on the even years winning a title. And the
Right. Very annoying.
Cubs came in, said screw ya. Chris Bryant, Anthony Rizzo, Javi Baez, Addison Russell, David Ross, Aroldis Chapman, Kyle Hendricks, John Lester.
Araldis, a champion again, Derek.
Correct. Aroldis a champion again. Kyle Schwarber, former Cub legend. I mean, how about Aroldis, Bob? You're a big Aroldis fan. How do you feel for him?
Aroldis has had a heck of a career.
He
A
has.
heck of a career when you really go back and look at it.
I mean, as soon as he
Could
got
be a
out of
Hall
the
of Famer.
dumpster,
Could be a Hall of Famer.
as soon as he got out of the dumpster that was Cincinnati, his career really took off.
Oh no, we gave him his start. We gave him a start. He would be nothing without the Cincinnati Reds.
Fair enough.
Nothing.
I mean, he was throwing gas for the Cincinnati Reds. I mean, if he ever was throwing gas, I mean, broke the MLB record for the
Correct.
Cincinnati Reds, I believe.
Correct.
For fastest pitch ever thrown. I mean, Derek, what can you say? The man's a champion.
Man, all he does is win. Everywhere he goes, he wins. And last but not least, congratulations to Detroit Tigers legend Max Scherzer. Didn't really have the postseason he wanted to, getting injured, and ultimately being removed from the World Series roster, along with Adolis Garcia at the end. It didn't matter. Jacob deGrom, finally a champion as well, even though he pitched like 4 games this season. And how about Corey Seager? All the man does is hit dingers. Basically became prime Barry Bonds in the World Series, really throughout the whole playoffs. Proud to have called that man a member of my fantasy baseball
A proud
team.
member.
Thank you for your service to my fantasy team, Corey Seager. You're a legend for that. Nearly played his way into keeper status, is making me severely reevaluate, the keeper status moving forward into next season. Any more thoughts on the World Series before we move on?
Nope.
All right. Oh, one last thing. I'll spoil my loser of the week now. Rob Manfred for that epic voice crack when he was announcing the Rangers as the World Series champion. Tell me you guys saw the clip?
I did see the clip.
Just a failure of epic proportions. Rob Manfred's voice giving out on him with an all-time voice crack. Go check out the clip if you haven't seen it. Absolutely hysterical. Dennis, we see it. We're losing you over there, so we better switch quick. It does not appear the UC Bearcats are going to finish middle of the road in the Big 12. Nor does it appear
they're most certainly not.
Nor does it appear they're going to
not.
finish bowl eligible. Dennis, your thoughts?
Well, unfortunately, the predictions, statements, and and otherwise that were presented on this
Conclusion.
show may have been may have been done so um, even against my own thought processes. Because in the back of my mind, there's always been Scott Satterfield sucks. Um, I can't read it. I'm sorry. What's it say? Is it the prediction? Is it the dated prediction?
It is
I
Dennis
can't tell.
declared on December 1st of 2022 that UC will be middle of the road and bowl eligible.
Yeah, Scott Satterfield is horrible. Um, it's just we had our moment in the sun, and that's okay. And the Big 12 is another animal. Um,
Another mountain to
Unfortunately, it's
climb.
probably not going to look any better in basketball. It'll probably look worse. So the University of Cincinnati is in a tough spot, but it's it's growing pains. That's what I'll say. That's what I'll try to sum it up as. Um, it's growing pains, and I think that eventually the program will be in a spot that it will compete because we've shown that we can compete at that level before. Unfortunately, that's not this year, and I can't expect it to be going forward.
Bob, I wanted to give you a update to the Big 12 football standings that we mentioned
That I
last
outlined
week.
last week.
That we mentioned last week. Last week, I believe they were 1-13. Bob, is that correct? 1-12.
Yeah, I believe. Yeah, 1-13 maybe.
Well, if that's the case, it looks like there were a couple bye weeks, because the former American Conference, now Big 12, is currently 1-14 in the Big 12 currently. 1-14, 0-5 for UC, 0-5 for UCF, and 1-4 for Houston. Just disaster. Disaster.
Yeah, that's horrible.
Dennis, time to pay the piper. Time to pay the piper. All I gotta
It's
say.
horrible, but not unexpected, right? I mean, not unexpected by certainly the other two members of this group.
Correct.
Um, it
Dennis, what happened to beating Iowa State?
I think it honestly, what it's funny to say, and sure, there's some really quality teams in the Big 12 that we still would have lost to. This season hinged on the fact that we lost a garbage game that we should have never lost to Miami of Ohio. Because there was actually some optimism coming out of the gate. I mean, obviously it was, crushing Eastern Kentucky was expected, but the fashion in which we did it was good to see. Beating Pitt was, I felt like, a great sign. And
Currently,
then,
2-6 Pitt currently.
right, well, at the time I thought it was a good sign.
It certainly wasn't a
and it,
bad sign.
right, no, it was an important win on the road. And then to come home and lay an absolute egg against the Red Hawks was just that was the tipping point, and there was simply no recovery.
Hey, I'll give
Um,
UC credit for this, Dennis. That win over Pitt was a Power 5 win, which is more
right
than anything that Michigan State can say this season.
there we go. That's exactly right. Yeah, that's exactly right. Maybe we just need to get Ben Bryant to transfer back, and then all our problems will be solved. I mean, how's
Oh,
that for a theory? Can we get like an 8th year of eligibility out of Ben?
Oh no. I mean, anything at this point would be better than Emory Jones. I think it's safe to say that, Dennis.
I think you're onto something there.
Bob, any thoughts on the 2-6 UC Bearcats, and any thoughts on the Michigan State Spartans who share the same record?
Well,
I know I
my
can tell
thoughts
you
on the
what Bobby's
Michigan
thoughts
State
should be on the Michigan
Spartans.
State Spartans. When does basketball season start?
Well, my thoughts on the Michigan State Spartans are, yikes. And my thoughts on the UC Bearcats are watch last week because I outlined it well. But I will say again this week, because Dennis, you're here, a big fat I told you so. Because
Well, this is
I tried to
this
warn
is
you, Dennis. I tried to warn you. But then you made a prediction. Then you had to go and run your mouth and make a prediction that you shouldn't have made. And I told you it was ill advised at the time. But you know what? It happens to the best of us, Dennis. So I forgive you.
this is one that you just if you're in a position like mine, you quite simply just have to take on the chin. which is what I'm attempting to do here today. Because yeah, it's the you were right, I was wrong. You're smart, I'm stupid.
Yeah,
On and
thank you,
on and on.
Happy.
Yeah. There you go.
That's one last question on UC football. Who would win, 2-6 UC or 1-7 East Carolina? Neutral field.
Wow. Wow, neutral field.
I mean, you don't play East Carolina with a weak heart. Write it.
ECU's lone win this year was against Gardner Webb. They won 44 to nothing
Okay,
in
all right.
September.
That's it. We have to beat ECU on a neutral field. I can't help it. I can't help it. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I know that this team is garbage. I know that this team is horribly coached. I all of that. Gardner Webb. Are you kidding me?
The Pirates, Bob. The Pirates.
Gardner Webb.
Gardner Webb, correct.
I'm gonna barf.
All
I'm gonna
I
barf.
have to say about
Give me
MSU
the
football
Bearcats.
is
Give me the Bearcats.
all I have to say about MSU football is Derek. There could be signs of life on the Urban Meyer front.
There's no chance. There's no chance.
There's alleged signs of life. That's all I have to say. It's
Oh
not
my
dead. We're not
goodness.
dead. That's all I've got to say.
Bob, I would encourage you not to delude yourself into thinking Urban Meyer is going to come save Michigan State football.
But Derek,
You should be
we're not
sampling
dead.
from the wealth of talent and coaching prowess that is the Central Michigan University Chippewas head coaching staff.
Certainly not
Correct.
the Bearcats anymore.
Oh,
I'll
no,
tell you that.
no, don't come. I mean, if you want to win a game in the next 10 years, don't hire Scott Satterfield. I'll tell you that.
Bob, is it time for Coach Mack to come to East Lansing?
It's Coach Mack time.
I already
Bring
said
him.
that last week, Dennis. Or Derek.
Send it. Oh, did you? Oh, okay. All right. I'm sorry.
The
Sorry.
Mac. The Mac. Return
of the
Return
Mac.
of the Mac.
Return of the Mac.
Need it badly. Bob, are you going to beat Nebraska on Saturday?
No. No, Derek, we're not.
This whole episode just feels like everyone's just taking it on the chin.
We're going to lose.
Bob, are you going to beat Indiana on November 18th?
No.
You know, I'm going to say there's a chance. I'm going to say there's a legitimate 50-50 chance we beat Indiana.
I agree.
Michael
Thank you,
Penix
Derek.
transfers back mid-season, and they absolutely schmuck you. He does it for the
second time of the year.
The second time.
We need to stop playing Washington.
Official prediction.
Good
You
God.
do.
Unfortunately
get off
for
the
you,
schedule.
Bob, Washington's coming to the Big Ten. I don't think you have a choice.
Well, we did a bang up
two
job
unnecessary
scheduling about
years.
6 times before they actually did.
I mean, fortunately, Bob, I think Michael Penix is going to be done terrorizing you. I think you're out of the woods there.
Thank God. 7 years of Michael Penix terrorizing me.
Can't be too long until you get John Ross Jr. or something streaking up and down the field, though.
Bob,
That'd be problematic.
Next year, I don't know if you guys saw, but they released the 2024 Big Ten schedules.
Mhm.
Bob, the only new Big Ten team you'll have to play is traveling to Eugene, Oregon. That's the only one.
Oh my God. Oh my. Traveling to
Eugene, Oregon. Correct. October 5th,
Chalk it up
Bob.
now. You can put it in as the official prediction if you want. 0 chance of that. 0, nada.
Bob, come on. The Michigan State Spartans traveling to Autzen Stadium, Bob. Autzen Stadium in Eugene, Oregon. Green on green. Battle of the Nikes.
Criminal that they didn't schedule us against USC, but
Agreed.
That's very true.
they're waiting for us to be better before they do that.
Perhaps. All time.
They're waiting for Urban. Urban's got to get a first year under him. Get us off the ground before we can start a rivalry with USC.
Sure. I tell you what. All-time jersey matchup. USC
We better bring
versus
back the
MSU.
bronzes. We need to bring back the bronzes to play USC.
Correct. All-time uniform matchup, USC MSU. I will forever stick by that. Moving on.
Correct.
Then I'm sure Dennis will be heading out. Wanted to give him one chance here to redeem himself for his failure to have faith in the Cincinnati Bengals. I have defended the Cincinnati Bengals for weeks, even in the face of Dennis calling for active tanking. I defended the Bengals and Joe Burrow. Dennis, as sure as the sun rises in the east and sets in the west, the Cincinnati Bengals have overcame a slow start and are once again over 500, beating the San Francisco 49ers in Santa Clara last Sunday. I was at the 49ers bar, Dennis. I was at the 49ers bar and restaurant.
Right, and what I tell you, Derek, what I tell you to tell them.
Yeah, you told me to tell my new 49ers friends to suck it.
That's exactly right.
Is what you told
That's
me.
exactly right. And I mean, that's just the fact of the matter. Yeah, I mean, as you know, and as both of you guys know, um, being a fan can be a complicated thing. And as much as I care about and believe that I have my heart and soul in this organization, sometimes that rears its ugly head as over exaggeration, um, and the slightest frustration can really come out as a complete denial and
I mean, white
just
flags were
completely the
waved,
wrong way.
Dennis. White flags were
Um,
waved.
they were, and all. Well, I mean, it wasn't a reflection of my true thought process or my true hopes for the team.
I don't know, Dennis.
It
You were
wasn't
going
it
after Joe
wasn't.
Burrow for his contract extension pretty hard.
Well, that I can still go after. That I can still go after. Um, However, frustration is a powerful thing. I think that's what I'll say on that matter. Um, and I'm still
Dennis, this is
frustrated. I mean, I mean, beating. I know he's had a lot of success beating Brock Purdy and the 49ers without Debo Samuel and squeaking back to over 500 doesn't excuse the contract. Like, there's not much. Like, he has to be Tom Brady 2.0 for to for it to be justified in my eyes. Even then, even then, he's going to be getting a better deal than Tom did. So you have to be better.
I have to be better.
And you have to be better. And I just don't understand how you can project that onto someone, even as someone as talented as Joe Burrow and as good as Joe Burrow and as successful to this point as Joe Burrow. That's the standard. And if you're going to get more than that, then you better be better than that. And I just don't see how that's possible. And that's where the stem of my frustration comes from. Amongst other things, now I understand in this particular situation, as I've said on episodes before, you had to mark it up against the likes of Lamar Jackson, Justin Herbert, Patrick Mahomes, um, which were ridiculous and outrageous contracts in their own right. And the reason that Joe got what he did was because of market value. Um, and I think that argument is completely fair and it makes sense. It's the market value itself that's completely messed up.
Dennis, are you worried about the Baltimore Ravens? Do the Baltimore Ravens scare you?
um, the Baltimore Ravens are not without flaws.
Okay.
They're a very good football team. They've put the beat down on a couple of teams this year. Cough, cough, the Detroit Lions. And Detroit has shown that they're not an easy team to do that to this year. However, I think there's a familiarity there with the organization as a whole, and I think that any game with the Baltimore Ravens does scare me, but not to a level of impossible victory. I think that it would scare me just as much as probably just as much as the Buffalo Bills do this coming Sunday night. As a legit and formidable AFC opponent that we have to beat to prove ourselves. Not one that we can't beat, but certainly one that's formidable.
Fair enough. Yeah, there's always something to be said about interdivisional matchups know each other so well that the way they. I mean, Lamar. Let's face it, Bob. Lamar Jackson 16-1 against the NFC. Dude just dominates the other conference. There's only so much you can do, and the Lions were unfortunately a victim of that. Uh, but it's gonna be the battle of the Lions losses Super Bowl. The Ravens and the Seahawks. Dennis, who do you have coming out of that one? Big implications for the AFC North moving forward if the Ravens were to lose and the Bengals were to pick up another game.
Right. I think unfortunately, and you mentioned it there, another NFC opponent as this team is rolling right now. I think it would be kind of ill advised to roll with Seattle here. I think that Baltimore is unfortunately probably going to notch another one. And I mean, here's the thing: the one thing that could derail Baltimore's season, as we all know, would be Lamar injury, which hasn't happened yet. Usually at this point in the season, it has happened. Or he's gotten COVID, or he's gotten some. He always runs into issues with not being on the field, and a large part of the reason that they've had the success that they have is because he's been on the field, and completely healthy at the same time. So while that's the case, I there's kind of only a few teams that I'm truly taking over the Baltimore Ravens right now, and I think unfortunately that's got to be the way it is.
Fair enough. Well, Dennis, do you have a winner of the week, a loser of the week that you'd like to share before you hop off, or are you going to stay on a little longer? Almost at the 30-minute mark.
Well, what's up next?
I don't know. I was thinking about talking the Lions' Monday night performance and their outlook as we reach the bye week. So I figured,
All right,
before Bob goes comatose, I was gonna let him start shooting from the hip
Comatose.
about the Lions.
let me ask this
Comatose.
quickly. Let me ask this quickly, and then I'll let you guys go off on the Detroit Lions because I don't have a winner, loser, or a right bench baller to share, unfortunately. Um, we got Sunday night in Paycor Stadium. It's the Buffalo Bills in town. It's Josh Allen and Joe Burrow. It is obviously going to be an emotionally charged event
Damar
after the
Hamlin
last time that
revenge game.
these teams met in downtown Cincinnati at Paycor Stadium almost a year ago, and the unfortunate events that unfolded to Damar Hamlin. What do you got in terms of analysis of the football game? I mean, predictions elsewise, because I have a few thoughts, but I would like some unbiased opinions.
Sure. Bob, do you want me to start, or would you like to start?
On the Bills
Yeah, on the
Bengals.
yeah on the Bills Bengals matchup.
I have the Cincinnati Bengals. Um, I think that for whatever reason, it's more of just a history thing. I mean, the Bills, I just don't trust the Bills in big moments as much as I would trust the Bengals. And the Bengals have been hot. And so I think that they would continue to ride that wave and will perform. I think it's a relatively close game. I think it's a one touchdown game. It'd be 34-27.
High scoring affair prediction from the Bob. I'm also with Bob. I can't listen. I have been backing the Bengals since the game before the Arizona Cardinals. I told Dennis not to lose faith. He decided to lose faith anyway. Heck, he even picked the Arizona Cardinals to win that one. Let's not forget that
Frustration. I
Dennis
started this whole segment on the powers of frustration.
Dennis picking the Bengals to lose to the one-win Arizona Cardinals. Just absolutely despicable behavior, if you ask me. But regardless, we've moved on from that point, and from that point now. The Bills' offense is really weird. They have not looked very good whatsoever this season, outside of really the one game against the Dolphins. And it's hard to chalk that up. I mean, the Dolphins themselves could be frauds. I don't remember the last time they beat a plus 500 team. I think I saw something that said they haven't beaten above 500 team since week 14 of last year or something like that. So I'm still not convinced that the Dolphins are legit in their own right. So that leads me to question whether the Bills are still really any good. I mean, they looked absolutely brutal in that loss to the Patriots, looked absolutely
Sure.
brutal in the win over the Giants, and really it seems like two teams trending in opposite directions as it pertains to the quality of play. So, the Bills did get some reinforcements trading for Russell Douglas. It'll be, tough to be able to tell on 2, 3 days prep just how, complex of a defense they'll be able to run with him in the game. Um, but they're missing Matt Milano and Tre'Davious White in the defense. Their offense still has really yet to find a reliable run game with their sort of hodgepodge of Latavius Murray, and then James Cook was hardly getting any carries, and then they bring Leonard Fournette into the mix for some reason, who knows why. And frankly, Josh Allen's decision making has been subpar. And so, really, all the Bengals have to do is cover Stephon Diggs. Don't let Stephon Diggs beat you. Force Dawson Knox to be, an elite threat. Force, um, what's his face? Gabe Davis to beat you. And I have a feeling the Bills won't be able to do that. They're still reeling a little bit defensively, and I think there's too many questions and not enough answers for the Buffalo Bills in stopping the Cincinnati Bengals. I'm a huge Lou Anarumo fan. I wish he was my defensive coordinator.
Big
Um,
Lou, baby.
and obviously, Joe Burrow, with each passing week, is looking more and more like the Joe Burrow we remember from last year. So, give me the
Jumper.
Bengals. Give me the Bengals 10-point game, 27-17. I think it's going to be a rather, stress-free game for Bengals fans. I think they'll be in
Hey,
control.
I hope you're right.
I have a feeling they'll be mostly in control from start to finish as long as they don't have any back-breaking mistakes either in coverage or with turnovers. Dennis, how about yourself?
Yeah, I certainly hope you're right about that. And I think you did a fantastic job sort of outlining the Buffalo Bills, especially there. So, I'll focus a little bit more on Cincinnati, and I agree with the both of you guys. I mean, and I'm glad to hear you say it. Because you always have that feeling that your bias is getting in the way ultimately when you make a prediction like this. But uh, yeah, I have them winning this football game, and the reason for that is because I think these are both highly skilled teams. Obviously, there's a couple injuries on the Bills side. Defensively, Burrow has looked more like himself, and not just in finally making accurate throws down the field to his receivers, but also being able to move around the pocket. You can see the athleticism has returned in a lot of ways. I mean, there was that play at the beginning of the game last week against the 49ers. He escapes a sack like 4 times. Um, and that's the kind of thing that was absolutely impossible the first 4 weeks of the season. And it didn't happen at all. The winner of this football game, and I mean, easy to say, right? But the winner of this football game, in my eyes, is who wins the turnover battle. Because these are both highly skilled teams and highly skilled offenses. And at the end of the day, I not only have faith in Big Lou and the Bengals defense, who have been playing fantastic football, but I also think when it comes to the sensitivity to turning the ball over, when the Cincinnati Bengals turn the ball over, most of the time it feels more fluky, um, and inopportune, and it's not because of bad decision making. It's because of good defensive skill, and the defense making good play, which has happened quite a bit. I mean, unless you pass the ball to Irv Smith on the 2 yard line, dear God, keep there's the key to the game. keep the ball out of Irv Smith's hands, and we win the football
Irv
game.
Smith is a grade A bum. Grade A bum.
Tried to single-handedly sabotage us against the San Francisco 49ers. Single-handedly. He gets one opportunity, just keep the ball out of the man's hands. But my further point just being that Josh Allen, for all the talent and the ability to run the football and throw the ball deep down the field, is subject to bad decision making. And I think that at times has proved itself unfortunate for the Bills against other teams, and I'm hoping that on Sunday night our defense will be able to feed off of that maybe 2 or 3 times, and that'll be the difference in the ballgame.
Sounds like a sound game plan to me, Dennis. We appreciate you taking the time. It's been a long day, long couple of days. So we appreciate you hopping on and talking some shop before you hit the hay. Good to have you back, Dennis.
Absolutely. Yeah, good to be with you boys. Take it the rest of the way. And I enjoy following up later and taking a listen. But it's been good being here, and I will talk to you guys soon.
Don't forget to listen to last week's, or I'm going to be
Right,
forced
I know
to
I
call
gotta do
you a
catch
fraud.
up. I know I got to catch up first. So
That's right.
maybe there'll be a report on that rather soon.
Hopefully. All right, Dennis.
I'm expecting some antics at the beginning of that one. That'll be
I mean,
definitely.
there were antics
deserved.
throughout. There were antics
throughout.
throughout.
Okay. All right. Good to know. So for everybody else, if you enjoy some good old-fashioned antics, maybe you need to go take a look at that episode as well.
Appreciate the plug, Dennis. All right, man. Take
See you
care.
guys.
We'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bob, the Detroit Lions are 6-2, leading the NFC North that appears to be crumbling underneath us with only one singular solid pillar remaining, Bob. Kirk Cousins, MSU legend, unfortunately for the Vikings, tears his Achilles. Absolutely destroyed it. At a time when the Vikings were kind of rolling, Bob, I'm not going to lie to you, I was getting kind of worried that the Vikings may be back. And unfortunately for them, Kirk Cousins is going to be done for the year. Vikings sitting at 4-4. And it's the Lions division for the taking, Bob. The Packers are sitting at 2-5. The Bears are sitting at either 1-5 or 1-6. I can't remember what. Probably 1-6 if I had to guess. Justin Fields hurt. Tyson Bagent managed to beat the Raiders, but who can't beat the Raiders? They're ours. And I saw today, Bob. I don't know which website, which algorithm gave us this chance. But the Lions are sitting at a 95% chance to make the playoffs in Week 8, Bob. 95% chance to make the playoffs. And how could you think anything but? I mean, Bob, are we scared of Josh Dobbs? Are we scared of Josh Dobbs or Jaron Hall? No, we are not.
No,
not scared of Josh.
no, we're not.
We're not scared of Josh Dobbs. Bob, are we scared of Bryce Love?
No.
No. Are we scared of Justin Fields? Maybe a little bit, because Aaron Glenn can't defend mobile quarterbacks. But outside of that, Bob, 6-2 for the first time since the early 2010s. I think it was 2011, maybe 2013, maybe. At least a decade since we were 6-2. It wasn't the prettiest game Monday night. Wasn't the prettiest game. Jared Goff had me boiling at one certain point in time. It was a terrible interception. I think even the staunchest of Jared Goff supporters can recognize how terrible of a decision that was. But the Lions got the job done with, I think, nearly 500 yards of total offense. Held the Raiders, I believe, to under 200 yards of total offense. And even though the score was rather close throughout much of the game, more so than Lions fans would have liked, they dominated from start to finish, and it never really felt like the Lions were in danger. Bob, the Lions broke the Raiders. They fired Josh McDaniels. They fired their GM. They fired their offensive coordinator. And they get to finally head into the bye week and hopefully bring some guys back from injuries. Bob, your thoughts on the 6-2 Lions through week 8?
You know, miraculous, Derek. I mean, victory never tasted so good for the Detroit Lions. And you're right. It was a tough game, a weird game on Monday. Multiple points. I thought we were going to pull away with it a little bit more. We did not do that. Um, but you know what? The division's getting weaker by the second. I mean, I guess Chicago didn't bring in a little bit at the trade deadline.
One of the worst trades of all time. I didn't think they could top their Chase Claypool trade last year, giving a second rounder for Chase Claypool. Bob, as good of a player as Montez Sweat is, do we realistically think he's going to substantially add to their win-loss column? Heck, there's not even a guarantee that he re-signs with them, and then you've wasted a second-round pick for nothing. This is the same
Correct.
man, Bob, who said in some words or another, I'm tired of this ish. Alls I do is lose. I'm tired of it. And where does he go? From the Washington Commanders to the Chicago Bears, who have done nothing but lose really over the last 4 years or so since Matt Nagy left and Matt Eberflus took over.
They haven't done diddly squat. They haven't done diddly squat, and I'm glad that we can remind them of that. However,
1 in
I
10
think what
versus
we
the
need,
North, Bob. Justin Fields. 1 in 10 versus the NFC North.
I think what we need to do is focus on the Honolulu Blue. And the Honolulu Blue is 6-2, and we no one can take that away from us, Derek. We never thought it
Correct.
could happen, and it did.
Correct. Correct. Bob, preseason predictions. I believe. Let me go back and look, Bob. Let me go back and look. I believe you set the floor at 12-5, and I set the floor at 11-6. Um, I'll see if I can find one of our predictions at least.
I think 12-5 is where I was at.
I feel. Yeah, I said on January 6th, never forget in parentheses, that the Lions will easily be 11-6 and maybe 13-4, and I'm pretty sure you one-upped me and said anything less than 12-5 would be a disaster. Bob, the Lions are looking at a very realistic 12-5, exceptionally realistic 12-5. I mean, let's go through the rest of their schedule game by game, Bob, and let's see
Let's
if
do it.
we can make some predictions. All right, so they're off this week, unfortunately. Very sad, of course, to not have Lions football this weekend, but much needed for the rest. I mean, Bob, winning without your entire interior starting offensive line, Bob, the entire interior starting offensive line down.
How do
You
you do it? How do you do it?
you got Coyote Awashika making like his third career start. You've got what's his name? Evan Sorsdal making his first career start, a rookie if I remember correct, or Colby Sorsdal I think is his name. Colby Sorsdal making his first career start as a rookie, and then Graham Glasgow, a traditional guard, making a start at center, and then, of course, Awasika gets hurt, and we have to go back to old reliable Dan Skipper out there mowing dudes at 6'7" at the left guard position to patchwork the offensive line. And what did that result in? Jahmyr Gibbs having his best game as a Lion, his best game in his NFL career. Darn near put up Barry Sanders numbers, Bob. Darn near put up Barry Sanders, number 5 in Lions history in scrimmage yards in a single game. Bob, returning from the bye week, Sunday, November 12th at 5:05 p.m. Eastern. Actually, 4:05 p.m. Eastern, because the time will have changed by then. The Lions travel to sunny Los Angeles to take on Justin Herbert and the Chargers. Win or loss.
Win.
November 19th, 1 p.m. Home, Chicago Bears.
Win.
Thanksgiving Day, the Green Bay Packers come to Ford Field for a day of reckoning.
Win.
The Lions, December 3rd, on a mini bye, travel to good old New Orleans, Bob, to take on Derek Carr and the Saints. How are we feeling?
Should be a win.
Should be a win, but that one feels tricky, doesn't it? That one feels like it's got some stink to it.
It does. It does.
The following week, December 10th, 1 p.m. at Soldier Field in December.
Win.
December 17th, time to be determined, at home against Russell Wilson, Sean Payton, and the hapless Denver Broncos.
Should be a win against the hapless Denver Broncos.
Bob, if that's the case, we would sweep the AFC West. How about it? How about it? December 24th, for the first time in 3 games, the Minnesota Vikings, Christmas Eve on the road.
Win. Now that Kirk Cousins is gone.
Correct. December 30th, Saturday Night Football in Big D, Bob.
Win.
January 7th, at home, final game of the year against the Minnesota Vikings.
At home.
Mm-hmm.
Win.
Win. Bob, it sounds to me like the Lions aren't going to lose the rest of the season. In your humble
Well, I
opinion.
sure as heck hope not. There's only 2 games on there that I'm really even concerned about. So max 2 losses, I would think.
The Cowboys and who?
Fudge.
The Saints.
You're mentioning it. It could be the Saints. It could be the Saints. It's either that one or one of the first ones
the
that
Chargers?
I was concerned about. Yeah, the Chargers. That would be it.
Yeah. I think the only other game to add there would be Week 18 against the Vikings when we're resting all of our starters, sitting comfortably in the number 1 overall seed in the NFC with home field advantage through the playoffs.
That's fair. I understand that.
Wishful thinking. I like to think our backups can beat Jaron Hall and Josh Dobbs, though. Just my own personal preference. I mean, Bob, the Minnesota Vikings just got their first rushing touchdown of the year last week.
Yeah, and they're staying there. That would be why.
Correct. Bob, I think 14-3 is probably the realistic finish. I mean, is the NFL really going to let us win in Dallas, Bob? Are they going to let us do that?
That's always one you got to be concerned about. I would think they probably don't, but we deserve it, Derek. We deserve it.
We absolutely deserve it, Bob. Could not agree more. Bob, how's your fantasy team looking? Just as an aside.
Garbage injuries. Injuries, Derek.
Justin Fields.
IR.
Justin Fields hurt. Don't tell me you have Justin Jefferson, Bob. Do you have Darren Waller? Do you have... Shoot, who's all hurt? Just tell me.
Well, my kicker, Daniel Carlson, was hurt. Let me take a peek here. We've had some big injuries. Justin Fields out. Oh, I also have 4 bye weeks this week, which is a disaster. I also have Pat Fryermuth on the IR. DK Metcalf's been out for forever.
Yep.
And so that's been a train wreck. But I am missing this week. I'm missing C-Mac, St. Brown, Gibbs, and Goff all in the same week. And my actual starting quarterback is Justin Fields, who's questionable.
Yeah.
And Brett Favre, my top tight end, is out. So we've had to go to the waiver wire and pick up Derek Carr to
I
lead the
also
charge this
picked
week.
up Derek Carr for this week because I had Russell Wilson and Justin Fields, and for whatever reason I'm still holding out hope on Justin Fields, and so I dropped Russell Wilson for Derek Carr, Bob. So we're in the same boat.
There you go. There you go, Derek.
I'm also down Jahmyr Gibbs and Sam Laporta, so it's rough. It's rough. Bob, we'll come to a close here because I know you're hurting. You're hurting.
Sure. Powering through, Derek. Powering through. Luckily, there's been no falling asleep this pod.
Correct.
Camera on. Camera on. We are on the couch, but you know what? So is Dennis. So how mad are you gonna be?
Correct. Bob, the Detroit Pistons seem to still have some problems. I don't know how much of the season you've watched thus far.
Lost again tonight, Derek.
Lost again tonight to the Pelicans without Brandon Ingram, Bob. Lost to the Portland Trailblazers, who no longer have Dame Lillard. After blowing, I'm pretty sure, like a 16-point lead or something like that. Bob,
How does that happen, Derek?
The simple fact of the matter is this. Killian Hayes sucks.
Well, I said that 4 years ago, Derek.
That's pretty much what it comes down to. Bob, do I need to check the box score? Do I need to check the
No,
box
because
score?
You don't, because I said we shouldn't have drafted him, and sure enough, he stinks.
Bob, I'm checking the box score.
Oh my gosh, Derek, don't do it.
Killian Hayes, 39 minutes, Bob. Team leading 39 minutes. 4 of 8 from the field, 2 of 4 from 3, 5 boards, 9 assists, 0 turnovers. Actually, probably his best game as a Piston.
Oh, Derek, you're making us look bad.
What a disaster. At least against the Portland Trailblazers, he played 26 minutes, scored 0 points, had 3 steals, 2 fouls, and a turnover.
Train wreck.
But yeah, I mean, Killian Hayes in what is now year 4, 6.4 points, 2.4 boards, 3.6 assists, 27.3% from the field. From the field, Bob. From the field.
Fireable offense, Derek.
But yeah, I think ultimately, Bob, the Pistons are still a young team, and Dwayne Casey did not teach them how to win. So ultimately, they're gonna have to learn how to win. I don't know really
Mr. St. Jude.
Mr. St. Jude himself. I believe in the last pod we said anything under 500 would be a disaster of a season. It's not looking good, Bob. It's not looking good.
It's looking that way again, Derek.
Not looking good.
Another lottery ball chance.
Let's hope not. Because Cade Cunningham has looked really good to start the season. Jalen Duren, balling. Isaiah Stewart, balling. Ausar Thompson, absolute defensive menace. Marcus Sasser, Bob. Marcus Sasser, underrated
Diamond
draft
in the rough.
selection, has been tremendous. And then you have Marvin Bagley stinking it up, James Wiseman stinking it up, Killian Hayes stinking it up. And it sort of cancels out all the goodwill. I mean, how about Joe Harris, Bob? Sharpshooter. Lighten it up.
Diamond in the rough.
Diamond in the rough. Bob, are you still in NBA fantasy?
I'm not, Derek. I'm not.
No! What happened, Bob? Has the league broken up?
It has, Derek. Unfortunately, it has.
That's a sad reality that Nikola Jokic will no longer be anchoring your fantasy basketball team, Bob. Bring it.
I mean, it was time for that, Derek. It was time.
It was absolutely time. Well, Bob, once again, I did not have a right bench baller prepared for this week. I did
not either.
I did have Rob Manfred as my loser of the week. You have any winners of the week off the top of your head by chance?
Well, I was going to go for winner of the week. I was going to go, actually, people that want to see the downfall of Jim Harbaugh as the winner of the week. Because I'm seeing reports, Derek, and you can comment on this just a little bit briefly here, that, people are calling, at big coaches at Big Ten meetings are calling for immediate punishment, immediate action to be taken, given that the NCAA has appeared that they're going to act this season. But for the people that still want to prey on the downfall of Jim Harbaugh, right or wrong, there's been calls for the Big Ten to act, and coaches saying that there's grave punishment. A coach is beating this week and not looking good for old Jimmy.
I'll say this much, Bob. In my own humble Michigan arrogance opinion,
Oh no.
the 13 other Big Ten coaches are just pleading, begging the Big Ten commissioner to do what they can't do themselves, which is stop
Oh
Michigan on
no.
the football field. That's what this comes down to.
Oh no.
They have been getting steamrolled for so long, and their pity parties don't allow them to believe they stand a chance against us. And so they turn to the only man that can stop us, which is the Big Ten commissioner, to ban us from playing football games. That is what this comes down to. Bob, I'll level with you. I'll level with you.
You're leveling.
They're not going to do anything to Michigan. They're not. The Big Ten is not. The NCAA, before this season ends, most certainly is not. They're not going to. You know why that is, Bob?
Why is that, Derek?
Because Michigan brings money to the Big Ten. And if these coaches truly believe that Fox and the Big Ten would stand to forfeit hundreds of millions of dollars from Michigan potentially playing in the college football playoff to soothe their broken egos, they're gravely mistaken. Gravely mistaken.
That's a fair point.
You know, maybe if it was Northwestern or Indiana or Purdue or, Illinois, perhaps the ban hammer would come down. But sometimes you're a program that's too big to fail. And I believe
That's
the
true.
University of Michigan is one of those programs. For better or worse, Bob, for better or worse,
Fair or not.
I think that's the way it goes. I think that's the way it goes.
That's a
And
fair point.
and we still have yet to prove that Michigan is engaged in any illegal activities as far as I'm concerned. Now, I tell you what, Bob, my winner of the week, recording sunglasses at night, because that clip was hysterical. I want that to be true in the worst way possible. That this goober Connor Stallions sauntered down to East Lansing when you were there, Bob. You were there. You could have spotted him and broken this investigation wide open. That he was on the CMU sideline, decked out in CMU gear, sideline pass with the blue light recording glasses, Bob. It's hard to tell if it was a glare from the scoreboard. We can't say for certain. But let's just say he showed up to the Michigan ECU game the following night with a clean-shaven face. And we'll leave it at that.
Derek, could be blatant. Oh no. Not right under my nose. Not right under my nose.
Right under your nose, Bob. He was right there. Sunglasses at night, a CMU hat covering his face. He was right there, Bob. Jim McElwain doesn't know how he got there.
Of course he doesn't. Of course.
Jim McElwain still doesn't know who that is on the sidelines from what we know thus far.
Shocker.
But yeah,
Nobody ever knows.
Bob, did you see the MSU athletic director's comments today? Because after the coaches met with the Big Ten commissioner yesterday, the Big Ten athletic directors met with the commissioner today. Did you see what he said, Bob?
No, I didn't.
Well, Bob, let me key you in. Let me key you in. Give me 1 second to find it.
He said, "We're proud to announce Urban Meyer's the new coach of our team."
He did not. He did not. This was an ESPN notification I got. Michigan
Sure.
State athletic director says he worried about players potentially getting hurt because Michigan players could have known their place. So it was about the kids, Bob. It was about the health and safety of the kids. Shout out to the MSU athletic director. You know what I'll give
Shout out, baby.
you know what I'll give the MSU athletic director credit for, Bob. He's the only man thus far willing to put his name to his comments. Everything up to this point has been anonymous coach this, anonymous staffer that, taking their shots while they can because nobody knows their identity.
And also the not necessarily the complaining about the cheating, but more of the worried about the kids, Derek. The
Correct,
kids.
correct. Worried about the
Nobody else
kids.
is taking that angle.
Correct, absolutely. So shout out to Michigan State Athletic Director Haller for taking a stand for the kids, but most importantly, putting his name to his comments, which is something that no other coward throughout this entire investigation has done. So I just, as ludicrous as his takes were, and how delusional they sounded, I wanted to give him the respect of allowing his name to be attached to the comments, because he's the only one to have done so far. So I can respect that. I can respect that.
That's fair.
Bob, I'll give you a quick winner of the week as well, since I already gave my loser. Mount Pleasant, Michigan, and the epic Maction. Maction is back, Bob. Maction is back. CMU nearly blew a 26-point lead or something like that to Northern Illinois and our good friend Rocky Lombardi. But alas, the Chips came out victorious on top in the snow, Bob. In the snow, in the cold, in the blizzard, post game fighting, players throwing bows, and CMU came out on top. So shout out to the return of Maction, winner of the week in my book.
Well, Derek, it's funny that you said that because I was going to mention CMU as a potential loser of the week for their loss last week against Ball State,
That was a bad
who
one.
are garbage.
That was a bad one.
But I'm actually going to go with Josh McDaniel as my loser of the week, Derek, because and Jimmy G as a co-loser of the week as well, because Aiden O'Connell,
AOC, Bob.
that is what we're going with in Las Vegas. That is what the Vegas fans are not going to be agreed with. The Coach Belichick tree of coaches is in shambles as we speak, starting with Mike McDaniel. However, I'm sure he'll be back working for Bill Belichick before the end of the week, so probably not too much to be concerned out for his career wise.
Yeah, the Bill Belichick coaching tree certainly is something, Bob. It's not much of a tree, really. I don't think any of his coaches in the tree have a winning record in the NFL. I mean, Josh McDaniels, trash. Joe Judge, trash. Matt Patricia, trash. Uh,
Bill O'Brien,
Bill O'Brien, trash. Who
Matt, yeah,
else?
you said Matt Patricia.
Eric Mangini, trash. Oh, we've lost Bob. We've lost him. I'm going to pause the recording briefly until he comes back. All right, we're back. Bob, unfortunately, the phone died. He's on the computer, but he's lost his
Sorry,
face cam.
folks.
We appreciate him joining back, though, to finish off the discussion. We were talking about failed Bill Belichick coaches, but I think we said all we really needed to about that. Bob, I don't really have anything left to talk about. NHL is underway. We had the sports equinox where NHL, MLB, NBA, and NFL all happen on the same day, so that was pretty
Oh,
cool.
beauty, beauty.
But yeah, I think we pretty much covered, everything we really needed to. That's happened over the last week, so hope everyone had a happy Halloween. Look forward to
Thank you.
watching some more sports this weekend. And Bob, if you've got nothing further, feel free to kick off the social plugs.
At Garbage Time Takes on Instagram, at Garbage Time Takes on X. You can find our link to our website in the description of this video below. And as always, feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. Share the pod with a friend.
finally got everybody back on the pod this week. Thank goodness, I'm very, very glad about that. And I know it was a little bit janky with Dennis leaving midway through and the phone dying, but we appreciate you bearing with us. Hopefully it made for some entertaining stuff. And as always, please feel free to check out the last episode as well. Some good roasting of Dennis as well. So if you're good for some good in for some good jokes, I would recommend that episode as well.
As always, couldn't have said it better myself. Bob, will you be participating in No Shave November?
Can't promise it, but I would like to.
Well, if you do, I'll be right there with you. Normally I shave right before Thanksgiving because I'll go see some family and I don't want to look like a scraggly doofus, but this year I'm going all the way. I'm committed, Bob.
Love it, Derek.
Can I count on your commitment as well, Bob?
You can't, but I want to see a full beard, Derek.
Bob, there's no way this patchy face is growing a full beard. Not happening.
Need it. Need it.
I'll probably shave out of embarrassment after, because this never grows in right here. Unfortunately. Unfortunately. Maybe I
Oh
can
no.
maybe I can con Dennis into joining me.
You probably can.
Yeah. Alright folks, thanks again so much for watching. As always, we really appreciate it. We'll be back next week with another episode. And until then, feel free to like, comment, subscribe, hit the notification bell so you know whenever we upload the next pod. Thanks again so much for watching. Have a great weekend, and we'll see you in the next episode of Garbage Time Takes. Bob, if you're ready, I'm ready. In
Let's do it.
3.
1.
Peace.
Peace.